Hello guys, Toast here and I am back again with another video. Today I'm going to be going over the last and second list that we've played to get to second place in the GG Jibril tournament, and this is going to be the Malice list. So without further ado, let's get right into the action. 2 Dormouse, 2 White Rabbit, and 3 Chassis Cat. Very standard. Some people do play less than 3 Chassis Cat, they play 2. I like having the name, especially because I am playing Bestials. And these are just like these are combo on their own. Like White Rabbit is full combo, this is full combo, this is most of the time full combo, but they're also like always extended by the Jerusalem and the Magnode. That's also really good. 3 backup. I know some people play 1. I know other people play 2. And while I think that playing 2 is not the end of the world, I do think that playing 1 is very incorrect. I like it at 3. Its consistency, it coupled with Bestial is combo, right? It coupled with another hand trap is combo. So normal summon Fualos, normal summon Ash Blossom goes into Almirage. In this list, I am not playing Almirage, so that does not apply for this list because I do not have the space for it in the extra deck. But that's the premise of it. I still like playing 3. I like seeing this in my hand. It's like an anti-nib card where you would like sometimes you would go for a combo that on purpose loses to nib, if that makes sense. So the opponents would be more incentivized to nib you there, and then you can extend with backup and you would still end on your full end board. So for example, like a Dormouse line, where you can go Dormouse into White Rabbit into Splash Mage, right? But you can like trick the opponent a bit, and when you go Dormouse, White Rabbit, you can go Link 1, Lingaribo, into SP, and then SP banish the Dormouse, and then Dormouse effect, and there they would be like 5 summons and they would nib you. And you allow the nib, you don't chain the SP, you get the token, you link off the token into Link Spider, and then you summon back up, and that beats another hand trap as well if they have that. Because if they hit the backup, you can go Splash Mage, and if they do not, then you have Wizard. So if they hit you afterwards, it works. That's another thing to keep in mind. 1 Wizard, my boy, very important card, the best search out of backup. And this card, like, it does its job. It does lose a bit to Bestials and Crow, which is seeing a bit more play in the meta, but it's still a very good card. The second effect does come up sometimes, where there will be like game states where you will go SP to try to out like something they really need to out, and you cannot OTK, right? But you technically can. If they have like 2 monsters, one is in attack, one is in defense, you can like go Wizard, swap the one in attack, swap the one in defense to attack, and then with ransom modification, while this card points to a monster, the original attack and death of all effect monster opponent controls are switched. So you can like make it point to a monster and do the math in your head where the attack of Heart Scripture and the attack of Access Code will go into the monster and kill it. I think I have like 1 replay of that actually happening in a match for stakes that I've played like a couple months ago, back when it was just like Malice and Raziel, Malice and Raziel. And it's just a good example of knowing what every single card in your deck does and the hidden effects of it. Like knowing that Dormouse, like a card pointing to it will be undestructible by battle, a card pointing to like a Malice monster pointing to March Hare will not be targetable, so on and so forth. To March Hare, I can't see the third being played. I don't mind the third being played, I just couldn't fit it, honestly. The card is less good to have compared to backup, I would say, because any card in combination with March Hare that makes March Hare good also makes backup good, but the inverse is not true. That's why I opted to play like 2 March Hare, 3 backup rather than 3 Hare, 2 backup. Because, for example, Hare plus a Bestial is not doing much, right? But backup plus Bastille is combo. So that's like my thought process when it came to that. 2 underground, 1 terraforming, 1 gold sarcophagus. Those cards are not to be changed. I think that these are very standard. You want to see them. 1 Malice in the mirror, also very important. 1 GWC and 1 MTP. I know people cut GWC, but from testing, especially now the Vanquish Soul sees a lot of play, you can't be low in life points. You just cannot be low in life points. Like, game states will happen where you're so low on life points that they can just burn you twice and you lose. Like, that's A, and B, like, a target for White Rabbit that isn't MTP. It also helps you, like, dodge. So, like, for example, if your Dormouse gets impulsed, you can later down the turn go GWC and summon back that Dormouse, where normally you would not be able to get access to Dormouse. And so on and so forth. Obviously, the life gain effect is probably the most important, in my opinion. And also the fact that it's, when you have that set up, you do not care if your board gets outed, because you no longer need to use like a monster effect that would trigger talents plus etc. to get access to your monster on the field. And it also beats like Ash on White Binder, because in the combo you would go like Echoed, tribute the White Binder, and then afterwards you would go March Hare, banish the White Binder effect, and that will special summon and then banish the Cryptor and Red Ransom. But then if they Ash that, it's kind of weird. But if you have GWC, that beats that issue, where you would go GWC and you'd get access to your Cryptor at that point. Well, you can also just like skip the binder to like not get the draw and just go straight for Cryptor, but getting the follow-up is, in my opinion, very important. Magna Druids, I like them. They're very good into Yummy, and they're also extenders. And yeah, like the cards are just very solid, especially Magnum. It's one of the best cards to have, and it still feels unfair even now. It's not as good into Vanquish Soul K9 because the majority of the darks that they have are not like hittable darks. There will only be like very few game sets where they will go like Rock of the Vanquisher target their Mad Love Engrave or the Boger Engrave. Well, it doesn't target, but you get to just like it being the only card they have engrave, and you would like go Magnamut, or maybe they go Lantern target a Jokul Engrave, and you would go Magna. But other than that, it's not that good for that matchup. For that matchup, we have these cards here. We have the K9 cards. So triple K9 Izuna and Lupus. My thought process, this was not my idea. This is an idea that was pitched to me by Vex and YGO. Link will be in the description. Go check out his channel. So basically, we were thinking about what hand traps were really good into Vanquish Soul K9, because that was in my head deck to beat. And the idea of Izuna popped up, where after you use all your hand traps, or in my head at least, what hand trap would I want to have in my hand? Izuna just is really good. Another thing is, Izuna, when you get Lanciad, is also very good, because not only can it go Izuna into Lupus with whatever you got Lanciad on into Link 3, keep in mind, when you get Lanciad, Lupus will not banish himself when he leaves the field, so that also gives you Lupus on their turn, which is also very big, especially if you have like another Izuna. Or you can like maybe save that Izuna on the field and like link with the Lupus, right? And afterwards you can like on their turn Lupus and then link with and then Xyz with the Izuna that's still on your field. Triple Ash Blossom, very good for Charmies, but not as good as a hand trap, as I stated in my last video. Triple Nibiru, this card is very good in the mirror. It's also very good versus Yummy. I've already explained my thought process behind running this card, but yeah, it doesn't change. I would not cut it. Triple Fualo is probably the best hand trap right now in the game, very close to Purulia. Purulia is better into VSK9, but Fualo just solos everything else. triple Dominus Impulse. You have to play this card if you want to play this deck. And last but not least, the most cuttable card in the deck, 2 Infinite Impermanence. So I will go on a little rant / discussion about this little Infinite Impermanence. So this was going to be 2 different variants of cards instead. It would have been either this, Rivalry Goes in the main. And I like that, honestly. My teammate didn't like that all that much, but me, you know how it is. Like, I like having my opponent tilt the moment I drop these, right? And the second idea, which probably I should have gone with, was playing Perulia in the main. I think that was one of my regrets. Maybe even like cutting the Imperm altogether. The card is not that good. And just playing Perulia. It doesn't conflict with Impulse. It's very good into Vanquish Soul K9. I think it would make the deck a lot better to run the Perulia. You can like maybe even like cut a card and get the third Perulia. Now, what card you would cut, that would be completely up to you. A chassis, a backup. Like, that would be at your own discretion. But it is a possibility. But for the tournament, we did end up just playing the Impermanence, which, as I stated, I do not think was correct. That was one of my few regrets with this deck list. Triple Perulia, insane card. It should have been in the main. Like, mid-tournament, or rather like near the end of the tournament, I started to feel like it coming up in the main, especially game 1. It's not that good versus Maliss, sure, but you already have like cards for Maliss. You have Impulse, you have Fualos, you have Nib, right? So the only other matchup that was really tough, especially if they played on your turn, was Vanquish Soul K9. And since when you go first, they have a good chance of like stopping you with the hand traps that they play, you also want them, when they go first, to have a very good chance of stopping them, and Broly just manages to do just that. Triple Bankratops, basically for the Yummy matchup. Sometimes I will side it depending on the mood versus Vanquish Soul K9 because it beats Ripper. So they can't go Forced Liberation on Ripper, and it also trades favorably into their end board because if they try to like destroy it, you can just chain it. And it also deals with Tikaboo, which they will be siding for us. On Call by the Grave to combat the evil Lancia. Triple Warning. I chose to play Warning and not like a thrust package because in this deck, I feel like I just do not want my opponent to like have the follow-up to actually get to play after I stop them. I just want them to stop full and then I get to draw for my turn and like draw an actual play and continue playing the game, especially if I get Lanciad. Because if I'm getting Lanciad and I like thrust for a D barrier, thrust for a Black Goat Laughs or whatever, I don't feel like I'm in a good position. Whereas if I have Warning and they try to play and I stop them with Warning, all of a sudden the game is like equalized. Triple Lancia, no need to explain why this deck is good. And Rivalry Goes in, my boys. Honestly, I love these cards. I think that every deck that can run these should run these because of Vanquish Soul K9 and K9 variants. And since a lot of decks are using K9, there's always going to be merit to running Gozen in Rivalry. Like, even versus Dracotail, which is a deck that also plays Gozen Rivalry, if you've noticed. They play Gozen Rivalry and Tikaboo. They can play all of that. And you can still get them in a game state where it is favorable for you. And like sometimes versus Maliss, you may even like side Gozen match and wait just patiently until they make a mistake or you nib them. So for example, you can nib them and lock them afterwards into a light. You can, well, you lock yourself as well, but like the token's going to be in attack and then they can't crash and you will crash and then you will play, right? And another thing is you can lock them into Splash Mage, you can lock them into Link Disciple, and sometimes like you can even lock them into Firewall if they go for the extra deck, extra monsters on Firewall, right? For Rivalry, it's a bit more streamlined. It's either it works versus deck or it doesn't. So you would not side that into Yummy and like hope that they make a Metal Marcher or something. I think that's stupid. As for the extra deck, Red Ransom, White Binder, Hot Scripter, no need to talk about these. They're all my queens. Haggard Lizardos, probably cuttable, but it does come up a lot. Usually you would always try to go for Splash Mage, but with hands, especially now that we play Izuna and Bestials, you try to avoid locking yourself, and you also try to avoid like going into a game state where you've used your Splash Mage. They have the hand trap like an Ogre, Bell, Veiler, or any monster hand trap, and all of a sudden you cannot Izuna. Another negative thing about Izuna is Dominus Impulse. If you have Dominus Impulse plus Izuna, it can get pretty ugly because it will kill the future Izunas and the future Lupus. So there would be like an idea of maybe cutting the Impulse and just maining Brood. And I would not be against that, honestly, because is Impulse really that good in the format? I wouldn't say so. It's mediocre versus Yummy. It's not the best versus Malice. It's a good card, but it's not the best. And versus Vanquish Soul K9, it's also like not as good. So now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably correct to just main the Peruli and cut the Impulse because so many cards are confliction with it. Splash Mage, Cyber's Wicked, SP Little Knight. These are standard. Link Disciple and Lingeribo. You can also be playing double Lingeribo. I think you should play double of this type of card, aka like Lingeribo, Link Disciple, etc. Because you do need like cards that your Link 1 can go into. And yeah, Link Disciple just gave like a slightly bit more like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like some scenarios it will be better than the second Lingeribo, where you will go for the effect to draw, and that can like get you into a way to play, especially if you're Cyber's locked. But other than that, I don't think, especially in this meta, that the second Lingeribo would come up over the Link Disciple. That's why I decided to play Link Disciple, and I do not regret the decision. Access Code and Firewall, Echoed. I do not play the Bomber Dragon. I don't think the card is that good at the current meta, especially because there's a lot of destruction protection going on in the meta right now. And Link Spider for Nib's token. Last but not least, Valon, Ripper. These are the best targets for Izuna Lupus. Ripper is usually when you go first and you go Izuna Lupus, you would go add back another Izuna, and then on their turn, you will have the Izuna and the Lupus in graveyard, and the Ripper as either a body that you can extend within your turn, or as a hand trap protection for your turn, and then an interruption in theirs. And Valon, you use this for both effects, for the Book of Moon, and you also use it for the target face down when the card goes to graveyard. I will say this before we finish the video. I will give some quick siding patterns, because what I've noticed in the last video, some people wanted to know how you would side. So I will just give like off the top of my head. You try to get these cards in versus Vanquish Soul K9. So versus Vanquish Soul K9, if I'm going second against them, I would cut one chassis, one backup, one terraforming, and put in the Perulias and Kobai, and I would also cut one GWC. Versus Yummy, I would try to put the Pankratops and the Called by the Grave, and I will cut same cards. Versus Vanquish Soul K9, you also have the option to side Goes and Match and Rivalry when you go second as well. Keep that in mind. So you would go cut Chessie, cut Backup, cut Terraforming, cut Gold Star, cut Malice and Burn, cut GWC for these, and these. This is also optional in that case. You can like save the Gold Star Sarcophagus for the Call by the Grave. If you're playing the Mirror, it's very obvious. You put Lancias and you put Perulias. You have to put Perulias. The cards that you take out are almost always the same cards, except versus Vanquish Soul K9, where you can also just take out the Magnamut and Drewsworm. There will be the Terraforming, the Backup, the Jessica, GWC, Mouse, and the Mirror, and Gold Sarcophagus. Gold Sarcophagus, I would say, is the card you would try to keep, because it's engine, right? And the rest are not like good engine when you go second. versus the Dracotail strategy, honestly, this deck is not that good into it, but you would try to put Call by the Grave and Land Rustler Pankratops into the deck when you go second. As for going first, a lot of the time it's just you put Solemn Warnings in and you take out the Fualos, and then if the deck there on is like maybe a Vanquish Soul Canine where you'd want to put like Goes in Rivalry, I usually just take out Imperms. I do not touch my engine when I go first, obviously. And you also put like Call by. So for example, if a deck that you're playing against is not good into Nib, like Vanquish Soul Canine, you can choose to go triple Nib out, one Call by, one Rivalry, one Goes in Match in, and then triple Fualos out for triple Warning. Same goes for, like, this is just a like generalization, I would say. Every game is different. Keep that in mind. I will go like versus one player playing Vanquish Soul K9, I might side Rivalry Goes in, versus another player, I might not. Because simply of how the player like sequences their moves, what they end on, what they generally try to do in my turn, etc. So it's not like a solid ground. There are cards that are gonna be like always in your deck when you go first, like Call by and Warning. And the rest is just up to you as a player. And that is it. I hope it was informative. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've made it this far, thank you. And stay safe. Have a very nice day.